In this video, we're going to go over the different categories that you use in QuickBooks. So your income categories, your expense categories, we're going to see where you will find that. And if you need to make changes, how you would go about doing that. Okay, so first let's see, where are you going to see this most often? In your reports. Let's come to the profit and loss report. And if you're not sure how to get there, you do have reports on the menu. So click that and then click profit and loss. And then you will see this. So we're looking at just a sample company, a sample account. And here we have the list of categories that have been used for this year. So all these categories are coming from a master list. And you may not use every category all the time. So we're only seeing the categories right now that have been used for this year. So there's probably more categories. We're just seeing the ones that we selected for a transaction. So we've got rent on here, legal fees, job supplies, job expenses, vehicle expenses. And at the top, you've got income. So, just your profit and loss, but all these categories, they come from a master list of your full list of categories. So you'll see some of them here. You'll also see them on your balance sheet. And on your balance sheet, you've got more categories. You've got your actual bank accounts listed, your business bank accounts, and just more categories. So they're pretty much, if they've been used, you'll pretty much see them on your balance sheet and your profit and loss reports. The other place that you will see them is if you use the bank feed. If you are in the bank feed, so on the menu, if you go to banking or transactions, you'll see if you have connected your bank accounts, then it's going to download your transactions right from your bank. So when you are entering those downloaded transactions, you have to select a category, right? So you have to select a category and it comes from that master list. So let's select one here. Here we've got category. We're going to select the drop down. And this list is the list of all our categories. So we can scroll through and select the category that applies for this transaction. So you'll see this master list show up here when you use the bank feed. You'll also see it if you manually record an expense. So if you use the plus new button in the corner and then select expense, you'll see this screen. And down here in the middle, you've got category again. And you select the drop down and here it is. It flips the list because it knows you're in an expense, so it puts all the expenses up first, but it is all there. If you keep scrolling, you'll have your list of categories. It just puts expenses up first. The other place you'll see it is on if you create an invoice, but you're just going to see it indirectly. So it's indirectly connected to your invoice. So here we're on the invoice screen. And we have noticed it doesn't say product or service in the middle, or it doesn't say category in the middle, but you select a product or service. So let's say we selected this product. Now, this list came from your products and services list. And every product or service that you enter, it's connected to a category from that master list. So you will directly see it in expenses, the bank feed, on your reports, but you'll indirectly be using it on an invoice. So if we were to select on the invoice, maybe concrete, and we go to our product and services list, here's concrete. But if we click edit for concrete, it knows to put concrete into a certain income category. So it says income account, but it just means income category. So if we select any of these, design, click edit and income category, it knows to, if you put an invoice for design, it knows to put that money into this design income category. So again, you don't see it on the invoice, but it's indirectly connected to that master list of categories. Okay, so where is this master list of categories? How do we get there? So let's go to the menu and go to accounting. and select chart of accounts. You can either just select accounting right now or chart of accounts, either way. So here we are at the chart of accounts. So that's this master list of our categories. The official term for it is chart of accounts. So your list of accounts. Now you might hear that of your income category, your income account, or an expense account. Those aren't literal bank accounts. Those are just categories that you select for your transactions. But it does also include your literal business bank account. So first we have your checking, your business savings. Here they are listed on your chart of accounts. So that's where I know that can get a little confusing. So even though it says accounts, it includes your literal accounts plus all of your categories. So you can think of it as just your list of business categories. Okay, so let's look at this table and how do we take in all this information? What are we seeing here? So first we just have the name of the category. Then we have what type of category is it? So it puts all your assets first. So your bank accounts, that's an asset for your business. Any fixed assets like a business vehicle. And so it'll put the assets first. So that's the type that we see: other current assets, fixed assets, bank. If you see this little arrow, that means that this account is connected on the bank feed. So notice I only have the checking and savings have this arrow and the MasterCard. So if I keep going, I only see an arrow for the MasterCard, checking, and savings. Come back to the bank feed and they're checking, savings, MasterCard. So those are the three accounts and credit card that are connected on the bank feed, that they will download transactions from your bank or your credit card. Okay, so that's what that little symbol means. Now, if we keep going to the right, it will tell you your QuickBooks balance. So as far as what you have entered in QuickBooks, this is the balance. Now, that may not be what's actually in your bank account. It's just maybe you're a little behind and you got to catch up on entering in your transactions. So it's only a few months in here. So it may not match what's really in your bank. So according to QuickBooks, there's $1,200 is the balance for this checking account. But because we have the arrow, because we've connected it to the bank, it also tells us what's the real bank account as of the last time it was updated. That could have been an hour ago, it could have been yesterday. But the last time they updated, this was the balance in your actual bank account. So that's the difference between these two columns. Notice you don't have a bank balance for everything because not everything is connected. So for only the ones that have the arrow, you have something filled in on this column. Okay, now if you come to the final column, we have the register, and we can click this to view the register for this account. So for the checking account, we have a checking register, and it looks like your traditional check register, right? Just on a screen instead. The only difference too, if you're used to doing your check register on paper, it puts the most recent first. So on paper, you'd have the most recent at the bottom. Here it puts it backwards. So the most recent is at the top, and you just read it like your regular check register. The accounts, the amount, if it was a payment or a deposit, and the running balance. Okay, so we will come back. And one more thing, this column, I'll make a note about this. When you enter things from the bank feed, let's go ahead and just add this in. So we're not filling this out right now. I'm just going to do it fast. So just click add for the sake of quickly entering it. And I'm going to come back to the register and refresh this page. Okay, and once it refreshes, we should see that September $200 that we just quickly entered. Okay, so here it is. Oh, it was August, but here it is. And notice the difference. It's got this green symbol. That means, the green symbol means that it came from the bank feed. We did not manually enter it. We didn't come over and manually create an expense or deposit for this. We let it come into the bank feed and then we entered it in. So, or we matched it. So if it was downloaded from the bank feed, you'll have the green symbol. These don't have a green symbol. That just means this was manually entered and we never did anything to see it on the bank feed. So that will be the difference here. The C means that it's been cleared, tentatively reconciled it. You saw it from the bank feed, you entered it. But when you actually go, when it's time to literally reconcile, this will change to R. So that's what that means. And we've got our running balance. Okay. So this green symbol can be very helpful if you're trying to look for a duplicate. If you manually entered something and you also entered it from the bank feed, so it was entered twice, you might see 200 twice. It's 200 here and 200 here. One has a green symbol, one does not. So then you'll know, oh, this one I manually entered, this I put in from the bank feed. So that can help catch any errors like that. Okay, so let's go back to our chart of accounts, and I'm clicking the top left link there, back to chart of accounts. Okay, so that's what's going on with the columns, and you can click into the view register to see the transactions. So maybe for this truck, this business vehicle, you could click view register, and then you can see the transactions for that. So in this case, it was just the value of the truck. All right, and if we do inventory asset view register, and then we have a register of everything that's in this inventory asset account or category. Okay, so that's how to read this table. Now, realistically, you don't have to come to this page very often. You would use it when you're first setting up, just to make sure your list of categories is how you want it to be. If you need to add anything, make any changes. You also might come here if you want to look at the view register, but you can see this in your profit and loss, the balance sheet. You could also see the transactions when you're working in the bank feed and you use the categorize tab. You can see everything that's been downloaded and entered from the bank feed. So you can see these transactions in different places. So you don't have to come to this page very often, but especially at the beginning. At the beginning, you will want to come here, but this is not something you have to come here every day. So here, if we keep scrolling, notice what happens in this column. QuickBooks balance, and then nothing. This is because if it has a balance, if you have a number, 0 or an actual figure in this column, that means that these categories will show up on your balance sheet. So if you're not sure and you don't remember, wait, does this category, will I find it on the profit and loss, or will I find it on the balance sheet? If you can't remember, you can look here. So you can see if it has a 0 or a number, an amount, then you'll find it on the balance sheet. If it doesn't say anything in this column, you're going to see it on the profit and loss. So let's look over here at the type column. You first have your assets are listed, then your liabilities, that will include your credit cards, liabilities, loans, anything like that. Your equity categories, they'll be here. And then this one. So this works a little differently, but it is on the balance sheet. Starting with income, that's going to be on your profit and loss, right? Your money coming in and out. It's going to be on the profit and loss, and then you're going to see it here on your master list of categories. So we've got all the income categories. We keep going, cost of goods and expenses. They're all listed here until we reach the end. If you, by default, it just shows the first 50. Click next in the very bottom corner. It's very small, but click next. And then you can see the next page of your categories. So in our case, we only have 2 pages of categories. You may have more, you may have less. So let's go back to the bottom corner and we'll click previous. So it ends with your expenses and other income, other expenses. Maybe credit card rewards for your business credit card, they'll be down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's click previous. All right, so we're back to the first page. Now, a quick note, if you don't like that it only shows you 50 accounts or 50 categories on one page, you can click the small gear on the right click that and say rows and pick the largest one. And now it's all on one page. So here we have our income and all of our expenses finally down to the others. Okay. So that is how to read this table. You'll have the name, the type, and if there is a balance, if it's a balance sheet account, the QuickBooks balance versus the real balance if it's connected. You can click View Register to read the details, or you can click Run Report. Either way, same idea. Run Report to see the transactions that are listed with that category. So let's see if I have anything here so you can see what it looks like. Yep, so if I click All Dates, then for this design income, we have a list of all the transactions that were listed under design income. So that's helpful if you want to make any changes or find information, see what's going on. But you could also see that on your profit and loss. So again, you don't have to come here, but you can. Okay, so now that we see what's happening on this page, what if you don't like what's happening on this page? There's a category that you have no need for. It was there by default from QuickBooks and it does not apply to your business. You know you will never use it. If that is your case, then you can remove it. Let's find something to remove. Okay, let's say commissions and fees. Maybe that has nothing to do with your business. So some things are general, like dues and subscriptions that maybe you don't use, but you might. It could happen that it could come up at some point. Then in that case, you could just leave it because you don't have to use all of them. They're just there to select from the list. But if your list is very long and you want to clean it up, things that you know you're not going to use, come to the very end of the row, click on the arrow and click Make Inactive. If you make it inactive, you can't delete a category. You cannot completely delete it at this time, but you can click Make Inactive to clean up your list. Okay, now we just made commissions and fees inactive. It's off the list, but let's say down the road you eventually do need it and you realize, oh, actually I need that back on the list, or you made a mistake, you accidentally made it inactive. Then you can get it back on by going to that small gear on the right again. So we'll come over here to the gear and then check Include Inactive. That's going to put all the inactive categories back on the list. And let's find not that one. Let's see, here it is. Okay, so commissions and fees, it says deleted. Now it says deleted, it was just made inactive. And you'll know because it says make active. So the ones that are really there will say run report or view register. The ones that you just asked to make or show the inactive categories, then it'll say make active. So if maybe we accidentally made commissions inactive, click make active. That will bring it back. Commissions and fees, where'd you go? Here it is. So now it says run report. So now it's how it should look. But we're still seeing all of the inactive. We don't want to see all of them anymore. So now that we fixed what we needed to, just come back to the gear and uncheck inactive. So now we only see the active ones. Okay, so that's how to use the chart of accounts. Now, when you are actually, or how to read this table. So when you are actually using it, something to keep in mind is you can have subcategories, right? So let's find one. Okay, so we had job materials as a subcategory of landscaping services. And we have fuel as a subcategory of automobile. When you actually see this, when you're using these categories, it's going to look a little different. So let's point this out. We're going to just pick an expense. And so we're on the bank feed right now and we're selecting a category. So let's find here, automobile fuel. So here we see it correctly. Fuel is a subcategory. It's indented and it says on the right, sub account of automobile. So let's say this was a fuel expense. Let's click this. And notice what it looks like once you've selected it. It puts the parent account : sub account. So this is something that you should be aware of, because maybe if you're just in a bit of a rush and you just select automobile, then this expense will go into the parent account. So just keep in mind, or maybe you're reading it on a report, just keep in mind that if you wanted it to go into the sub account, you'll of course select it, but sometimes it's small and you can't read the whole title. You'll see it's indented, it says sub account of automobile, and it will have the colon. So just watch out for that. Sometimes if you're purposely trying to use a sub account or subcategory, make sure that the subcategory, if it may be on your chart, it cut it off, and you can't, it's too long, you can't read it. Make sure that it does say the subcategory if that's what you're wanting. Okay, so we covered how to remove a category if you don't want it. We covered what subcategories look like when you're actually practically using them. And finally, we're going to show how to add a new category. So let's say there's something here, there's something not here, there's something that you want to be here. Let's go to the top of the page. We're going to go to the right side and click green, the new button. And we're going to make a new account, but it doesn't have to be a bank account. It could just, it just means a new category, right? So we're just making a new category. And here's how to fill this out if and when you need to do this. So first you'll select one of the arrows, or one of the circles, not an arrow, right? One of the circles, and you'll just select which one applies. So let's say it's an expense category. We'll select that circle, and then we'll just follow each box until we're done. So save account under. This just means on the master list, where do you want this to go? So this expense, let's say that we want it to be, we want to save it under advertising. That means it's going to be a subcategory of advertising. If you don't want it to be a subcategory, just select expenses. So this is just a brand new expense category. Then you'll just select expenses. It'll put it on the list with all the other expenses. But in our case, we're going to do a subcategory. So we'll select, we want it to be under advertising. We want it indented. They give you a little preview down here, so you can watch what happens down here in the preview as we do this. Our next box at the top, we have tax form section. This is a limited list, so just find the category that most applies to what you're making. So in our case, advertising promotional, that's clearly the correct one, but just find the one that applies closest to your category. Okay, so in our case, it was easy. And the account name. So what is the name? This, you can just decide what you want it to be called. The account name, whatever makes sense for you, something that you'll practically, when you're using it, you'll more remember what it would be called. So don't, you don't want to pick something really obscure. But here, account name, let's just say this is going to be a subcategory. So let's say this is website ads. So we're paying for, or let's say online ads. So we want to have a subcategory. So that way, the purpose to do a subcategory is when you're looking at your profit loss, you want to see how much did I spend on that specific category. I don't want to just know how much did I spend in all of advertising. I want to know how much I spent on online ads, local ads, print ads. I want to know how much I spent for the year or the month in that specific category. So you know, and then you can make decisions. You can see, oh, I spent too much on this in this way, and I need to put more into maybe this method of advertising. So you can clearly see that if you have subcategories. So here we'll have online ads, description optional. You don't have to put anything, but you can if you want to. You're not going to really see it anywhere, the description, but you can if you just want to put something to remind you. So we have description, and then we see our preview. Under expenses, under advertising, as a subcategory is online ads. So this all looks great. And let's save it and we'll see what it looks like. All right, so our expenses are going to be all the way down here past our balance sheet accounts after income. And here we go. Advertising indented online ads. It's an expense and it's in what type is it? It's advertising. So that is how to create a new category. If you're doing a new bank account, or just a new, maybe it's a loan, something that had a balance already. In that case, so let's do that. Let's say it was a liability, or a credit card. Let's do that. Let's do it's a credit card and we want it to be listed under credit cards. And tax form section, they only give us one option, and account names. So let's see, it's our new business credit card. You could put anything you want. You could put the name of the credit card, the last 4 digits, anything that you would like. But notice now we have this new field here, starting date and opening balance. So maybe you were already using this, but you're already using this credit card, but you just got QuickBooks. So here is where you can enter the opening balance of what it was. So this is where you'll just select what applies. If you want to do beginning of the year and you're going to start entering your business transactions from the start of the year, you could say that and say the balance was 200 on at the start of the year. So you just fill that in. Okay, so let's click save. And we come down to our liability area, and here's our credit card, but we don't have it connected to the bank feed, so it doesn't have the arrow. So nothing's going to download. In order to do that, you go to the end, and you go to the bank feed area. Go to the bank feed area, and that will be another video to connect that account. Okay, so here we've got our credit card, and it says our balance right now is just our opening balance. We haven't done anything else with it. Okay, so that is how to work with the chart of accounts, where you can find it if you need to make any changes. When you first make a QuickBooks account, there's going to be a list of default accounts. So you might need to personalize it for your business. You might need to add some categories that you need. Something that would be really helpful that you could see on the profit and loss is to make subcategories for your income. So you could have multiple categories for your income, but sometimes it makes sense to have a subcategories for your income. So you can think about how that would apply for your business. But sometimes people just have just one general income category and you can't really see too much information from that. So maybe there's a way that you could have subcategories or more than one income category that will show up on the profit and loss, and then you can see the difference. You can see you had this much in design income, this much in services, this much in sales of product. So you can split it up that way and you can have more useful information for your business. Okay, so that is the chart of accounts. Again, just think of it as your list of categories. I would say don't go crazy with it, because you can, start thinking up of all these categories that maybe you're not going to use. And if you start thinking, oh, I might use this or this could happen, just wait. Things that you're going to use, or a regular category for your business, you could add those. But you can see here, it only says 250 accounts. So you do have a limit. If you get close to 250 accounts, you really should clean it up and think about maybe you've overdone it with the subcategories, and maybe there's too many subcategories, or you can combine it. There are certain things that could be just rolled into one category. So it depends on each person's business, but you definitely don't, if you have 250 categories, that's really a little too much. So just really think about before you create a category, just really think, do I really need this? Is there something that already exists I could put it with? Or no, you really want to see it on the profit and loss, specifically the amount for that category. So you can just think about what's going to work for your business, and then you'll see the results for the categories that you use. You'll see the results on your profit and loss and your balance sheet. So they'll show up there. Okay, so I will have another chart of accounts videos as far as how do you know when to use which category. When you have a transaction, you're not sure, should I pick this one or this category, and you're not really sure, I will have another video on really using it. So this is just more about what it is and where you see it. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.